Hi again. Well, after that 10-minute delivery by the 12D, I find myself energized. So I'm back again, and there are still a couple of July journals that I want to get read into the record. I feel like more live ones will be coming out now. And let's see how much I've changed since this one, which was written 7/23. The first one of that day, and the Mayan day, was my birth animal. It's a 10 Jaguar, or Jaguar. All right, I guess the journals are coming by twos now and again. These will show a different date, this and the next one, but that's really deceptive since they were written within an hour of one another. Oh, well, the nonsense of calling 1 minute past midnight a new day really boggles this mind anyway. We do a lot of really strange things, thinking they are quite normal or sensible. I question that. I am so glad for the many of us going into awakening so that we can break this world out of the spell it has been under for so long, for some thousands of years, but no more. We will have far more than just a 100th-Monkey Effect on planet Earth. We're having a full revolution in consciousness, without a doubt. Not all of us can see it manifesting yet, of course, but have no doubt, friends. Did you know, by the way, that only about 4 to 6% of the colonists participated in the Revolutionary War to gain America's independence? And they were considered traitors, remember? And yeah, those numbers might not be perfect, but what I do recall is it is a shockingly low number. Oh, and remind me not to comment on any of the science type videos, such as Bill Nye the Science Guy stuff. Oh my God. I have never yet been so chewed up and spit out as I was on the thread of one of his videos. No more. I'm not a masochist. Those people are so amazingly closed, just not reachable regardless of your good intentions. If you don't have 3D evidence for whatever you say, they're not interested. Oh well, that's their right. They get to design their reality. I get to decide not to participate. So I got my wings clipped a bit there, but that's okay too. Source drew me there for a reason. Being right in the middle of the 21-day joy experiment, it was a really interesting and intense contrast. How they were responding to me and my determination to stay within joy. Now, I didn't foist that on them. I'm just talking about my attitude and my reception of them. In the end, it was a victory for not allowing outer circumstances to dictate my mood or attitude. Now, I won't say I didn't have some difficult spots. You bet I did. Just that overall, it turned out really great from my perspective. Now, be sure not to tell those guys, though, or they'll send the men in white coats to lock me up. They know full well how very unkind many of them were. And they really don't care. That's the thing about mind. It has no heart, no softness of any kind when it's put fully in charge. And I don't really have the right to speak about whether they care or whether they don't. Anyway, meanwhile, we are going in entirely other directions. I don't recommend confrontation of any kind, but when we follow where heart leads, there's always something interesting underway. It was painful for a few days. Thanks source, they've stopped commenting. I feel like there were 50 or 100 of them. But I'm the better for the experience. I'd say more anchored, more grounded, a bit clearer. Fuzzy just doesn't work in such cases, and I know I can tend to be fuzzy. Overall, though, my way is to win without firing a shot. We basically just pull our energies out of all of their stuff. That would be the powers that were, not so much the science nerds. Whatever we focus on, wherever we place our attention, our energy on, we feed that, my friends. I'd say it's time to stop paying attention to about 90% of the crap. Now, this is after we educate the self about all the goings on. I'm not saying to go into life blindly, just refusing to look at all the dark stuff. Oh no. Waking up to that is very much an important part, and usually an initial part of awakening. I don't see how one wakes up otherwise. So the wise as serpents part is every bit as vital as the other part, harmless as doves. We withdraw our sacred energy from their plots and ploys, their whole way of being, what with its deep dishonesty and lack of integrity. And here I'm not talking about the science nerds, I'm talking about the powers that were, is not supported anymore by the energies of the new dawning age. Only truth and integrity will carry the day going forward. That's how I see it. Honesty will be a part of simply everything. The rest will either blow up on its own or just die on the vine. That's not our part to bother with. Let's keep our energies focused where we choose to place them and not be led around by the nose by the media. At some point, all the current major media programming has to go, and it will. It will also either blow up in their faces or just die on the vine as more and more of us just turn the boob tube off and quit buying all the useless junk they advertise non-stop. To watch TV is to be manipulated, my friends, even if you mute the commercials. It's your choice how long you continue to be willing to put up with it. And some of you really enjoy it. I know Shanti loves TV. So you go with what feels right to you. I'm just mouthing off about what feels right to me, okay? I'm not judging anyone here. I'm really new to this guy I'm going to speak about, but I guess I'll also share with you that I've discovered a more than ordinary and interesting teacher or guru. I guess he's an ex-guru. His name is Dr. Pillai. He left the saffron robes and the ash on the forehead stuff behind so he could deliver his message to a wider audience. And he's doing a pretty nice job. He's very competent. At least I find him convincing. I've been trying out some of what he shares. It's very practical stuff. I'll provide some links in the written journal for you to see what I'm talking about. I'm even thinking about getting some Vedic astrology reports cast for me. I haven't done that before. Their whole system is so vastly different than Western astrology, not just by the 23 degrees difference in the placement of the planets, but it's just hugely different. And they work with sidereal astrology. So, hey, it's fun. Whereas my Western charts place my natal sun in Capricorn and moon in Cancer. In the Vedic system, I'm a Sagittarius with a moon in Gemini. A whole sign different. I'm not sure about my ascendant. I thought it moved to Sagittarius too, but I think they're telling me it's moved to Libra. So I've got a question into them about that. They also have planets I hadn't heard of before. Really and truly, it's a whole new world. What I will say for it, though, is that just like Western astrology, it has a long and stellar history, if I might be excused for the pun. The one that introduced me to it in a sideways fashion was Yogananda in his Autobiography of a Yogi, where he shared that his guru, Sri Yukteswar, was an astrologer of some merit, even publishing a book on it. Also, woven throughout that book were threads where Sri Yukteswar's knowledge of the stars, gems, and all things related came into play. He was a true master of this Vedic art. One of my favorite things he taught Yogananda was a very simple thing. It was to go against the flow, against what the stars recommend now and then. He made a regular, though infrequent, practice of doing quite the opposite of what his astrology recommended for a certain period. By this, he allowed Yogananda to see that there was no need to give all his power away to the almighty stars. Instead, though it would likely take a good bit more time and be strewn with various challenges, it is quite possible to go your way, whatever that is, if that is your desire. You've just got to be determined. There are many other delightful lessons as well. It's a wonderful book. So far, in all the vast reading and inquiring I've done in this life, plus whatever I've recalled from other ones, I haven't yet found someone with a monopoly on truth. No one I've found has simply everything right. Which is fine, since if they did, that would be a bit of a challenge to following my own heart, would it not? Actually, I've about got it figured, right or not, I don't know, that Source has it planned that way. It surely keeps us both on our toes and in heart, where we can easily rely on that deep discernment that's available there in Intuition Central. So, I'll share with you too that the main thing I push back against with Dr. Pillai is his tendency to still play the guru to a pretty good extent. My favorite way of seeing the master teacher work is like Tony Petrinovich or Sacred Sarah on YouTube. She is one who will constantly remind you that everything you find in her is also right there within yourself. I do this too, as it's so very much a deep part of my understanding of life. It's one of the most important principles to me. To see someone still in the old Guru Chila mode is a bit disconcerting. It smacks of the last century, not this one. However, I can forgive anyone anything, as in this universe free will rules, and he gets to choose how to live his life. Meanwhile, I work to take as much benefit, I play to take as much benefit as I can from his wonderful work, yet meanwhile retaining my full reliance on heart and on Source. It's a bit challenging to hear him say that no one attains enlightenment in the absence of a guru. Like I say, I believe this to be very much the old way. I don't choose to believe it. Nonetheless, I feel Dr. Pillai has huge gifts to offer to this new dawning age. For one, I will recommend his teaching on activating the midbrain for the working of miracles, very much at the expense of the cortex. I'll link you over to a series of 4 videos he has on that. Most of his are only like 5 or 6 minutes, but these are from a seminar, so they're longer. Okay, perhaps that's enough sharing for now. As I shared in the previous journal, I'm feeling rather betwixt and between just now, not knowing where to come down and land. Heck, I may not land the way things are going. Maybe this constant change thing is really the new way of being. Never knowing who or what the heck you are or believe. Well, no, that was too extreme. Knowing who we are is a really important component of awakening, or maybe knowing who we're not. Even though it's much easier to say who and what we are not than to pin down who we are, yet still, the heart knows, even if it can't be said in words. And I hope some of you can echo at least some of this intensity of change right back to me. It's funny how comforting such things as knowing others are in the same boat with you can be. Overall, though, I'm well aware that we're stepping more and more into unity, into awareness of the great one that we all are. Yet it's not feeling that way of late. Oh, well, it just is what it is, and I've got all the room in the world for that, for full acceptance of the now here. That part about my life is really so wonderful, I can tell you. It doesn't seem to matter how radical the change gets, knowing that simply everything brings blessing and that quite anything is possible. Well, it makes life go better, that's all. So much better than it was when living from mind. And it's more fun. Things that would throw mind into a tizzy, that would quite upset its apple cart, are simply regular daily fare lately. And I'm not finding the self at all upset. And that's nice. I'm feeling kind of awkward, sure, but that's a far sight from falling apart or being angry, frightened, or in any way upset. I've had people say some really nasty things to me, and it didn't bother me but just a wee bit, and that's nice as well. It's been a really interesting ride this last month. How about you? Do share in the comments, or I'd welcome a video response too. The more we get it out there, the things happening with us, the sharing, and how we're seeing them, responding to them, the better for everyone else. Then they won't have to feel so alone either, and maybe like they're going crazy, you know? Namaste.